So unfortunately, being the interim in this chair until we can get a full board so we can elect officers on a full-time basis, I get to call this meeting to order. This is the February 7th meeting, and at this point, if you would, we'll stand and have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. Bob Pollock, Commissioner, and that's me. Greg Deutscher, Gibson. Mike Nyland.
Here.
Andrew Sperling.
Here.
And apparently the City Council, which has an appointment to the Fire Merit Commission, has not yet made that appointment. So we have 3 individuals here, and we have 1 absent. Tonight, the next thing on the agenda was the election of officers. I'm going to make a suggestion that the election of full-time officers be postponed until we have 5 members present so that we can have a full slate of candidates. Is there any thought? Anybody like to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion that we table the election of officers until we can get 5 people present to have a full slate.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Mr. Nyland?
Yay.
Mr. Sperling?
Yay.
And I vote yay. So the election of full-time officers will be tabled until we actually have 5 members present. Approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the December board meeting?
Make a motion to approve minutes of the December meeting.
Do I have a second?
A second.
It's been moved and seconded that the minutes of the December board meeting be approved. Are there any objections? Everybody in favor, raise your right hand. Communications and claims. Well, I'm going to start with the payroll for the attorney fees and for the Fire Merit Commission members. Our attorney, as I understand it, was paid for January, but we do have to approve that since we did not have a January meeting, and we also have to approve her pay for the month of February, and that is $500 per month. Would somebody make a motion that we approve the attorney fees for January and February?
Sure. I make a motion that we approve the attorney's fees of $500 per month for January and February of 2022.
So,
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. In terms of the Fire Merit Commission, we have had this situation since I've been on wherein we do not get paid in January, but we do get paid twice in December. Hopefully sometime along the way in the next 5 or 6 months we can get that changed because it really is a little bit of a problem when it comes to the accounting cutoffs in the month of December. So tonight we will be approving for the members of the Fire Merit Commission, and it will only be those who have been sworn in. So apparently, unless he is sworn in by the month of by the end of the month of February, he will not be paid for February. But for the month of February, could I have approval to pay the members of the Fire Merit Commission? It's $150 per month, and there would be 4 payments, which totals out about $300. Do I have a motion?
I'll have a motion to approve the payment to the Fire Merit Commissioners for $150 per month with 2 payments or 4 payments. What was it about?
No, you'll get 1 payment. This will be for January.
1 payment for January.
For January. We haven't been paid yet for February. We'll have to do that in March.
Wonderful. 1 payment, so I make a motion.
Can I get a second?
second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 3-0. Budget report. I really don't have a budget report. The only thing I have is that we got the attorney paid. But for Mike and myself, I assume you did get a W-2. Mine was properly stated. There was some problems with the accounting with the payroll accounting cutoffs, but that seemed to work out to be correct for the amount that we received for our payment. Okay, that seems to be taken care of. The next thing we have is city council representative. There's a city council representative here. Okay. Next thing we have commission attorney. Any report?
No report.
Report from Union Local 475.
I don't know if this is classified as a report, but there's a couple things I did want to bring up.
Sure.
And I have talked to the chief's office also about at least one of these. One is we're several months away from the promotional test.
Yes.
I've been getting a couple of questions from guys as to what to study. Do we know what the materials will be? Is it the same as last time, or is it
Well,
something new?
it's my understanding that they have ordered the materials from URI, and that's one of the things I was going to talk to the commission about, because there has been, the way we've done it in the past is certain officers have handled certain situations. Now, the promotional situation, because of a serious problem we had about 4 years ago, the president wound up doing, he has, I believe, ordered, the fire president has in fact ordered the materials. So whoever, if we want to continue with that, with the president handling the promotional situation,
What president?
president of the Fire Merit Commission.
Okay.
And I would assume that we're going to set that date for sometime in mid-September, which is
We were just looking it up, it's usually the third September, or the third Saturday in September.
third Saturday in September.
That's usually when it's always been.
Right, it's automatically done that way because
Yeah.
of vacation. That way somebody can't say, well, I didn't know,
Yeah.
I took vacation, I wanted to do it a different day.
This was brought up a couple of test cycles ago as to why we set it for the third Saturday of September, just for that reason, so when we do vacation go in December, like he said, people, they already know.
Yeah, well, I see no reason why that would change, so I think you could probably tell the people
And I
that.
think we discussed that before, but it's just now, guys are wanting to know what to study. It's the same material from before, if we're getting new material, so you said,
Well, it will be a URI test, so yes, we have ordered new material. We'll find out if it's been, come in or when it's coming in, but it's going to be a URI test. Anything else?
yeah, also, it was brought to me before, some changes are looking at, people are looking to want to make in the merit ordinance. And they want to make a couple changes, but it's going to have to be merit ordinance changes. Now, I know a couple of years ago, and obviously,
You guys got an agenda? Excuse me.
No.
we're talking about it right now. And Abs was just sidetracked.
Go ahead.
That's okay. The ordinance changes.
If you'd like to make some changes, we started a couple years ago, and I know we're down a couple people, so it may take a little bit here to get going again, but a couple years ago, it was brought up, we wanted to get a committee together, and I got a couple people together, we were gonna look at starting to change the merit ordinance.
Yes.
Go through, make some changes, so on and so forth. COVID hit, it derailed everything, and we never really got back on track with that. Now, so things have been brought up, things have been asked, and there's a lot of things in there that do need to be changed, need to be clarified, take some interpretation out. And what I was basically asking, because I've gotten asked by some of the members, can we start that back up? You know, we want to start getting going on this, try to make some changes, to clarify things, because when you read that thing, there's a lot of contradictions in it. And I even brought that up over an incident that happened a year ago, where like we can take 2 or 3 sections and just mesh them together and just do whatever we want to do, and that's not right. Because one section says one thing, but you go 2 sections further and it says something else, but we're going to blend them together, and that's not fair for the individual that may affect. So, bottom line is, maybe we can get started on some talks just to get this going.
Okay.
You know, maybe get this going. Once, obviously, we're going to need a couple more commissioners. I'm sure you'd like to have a full complement of commissioners before we really get rolling. But I think what we're going to do, as far as the department goes, is get started on our own, looking between the state and the city, and start to compare the two, and see how, best way of going about this.
Yeah.
And a couple other, the rest of them we can get into when we all sit down and start going at it.
Well, yeah, and if you'd like to, we could, if you've got some things you'd like to discuss with our attorney, I think you could just give her whatever that is, and we could start from that point, because, yeah, that's one of the points we're going to have to go to.
There's a lot in there, that's the thing, there's a lot. It's been brought up, like, maybe we do like a third and then we come back and we do another third, and we come back and do another third, but then it's also thought that like, because it's gonna have to go in front of the council too and stuff.
Yes.
Like,
Well,
if the council's gonna wanna see us every 4 or 5 months, they're gonna be like, hell, we just did this.
Well, if it's an ordinance, it's going to have to go before the council, they're going to have to pass it, and then the mayor's going to have to sign
Let's
it.
do a third of it, get that all straight, and then move on to this next part, and then the next part, but at the same time, when you look at it, there's something maybe in this first part of it that you mess with that's going to affect this other part. You know, it's just, so I think, personally, I think it's best to do the whole thing at once. After talking to a couple other people with that, I've listened to both sides. So whenever, however, whatever our easiest way of getting going on this, to be in contact with you guys, just let me know, and we can get started with it.
Okay.
At least when these guys get something going, we get something going, we can start running past you guys.
No, it's a very good idea, and that needs to be done, I agree.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Yes. Let's see, report from Chief Legault.
Yes. First, I'd like to, on behalf of the Michigan City Fire Department, we'd like to thank Charles Williams and Ricky Jackson for the years of service as merit commissioners. Charles Williams served from 2013 to 2022, and Ricky Jackson served from 2018 to 2022. These gentlemen were an asset to the commission, and I enjoyed working with both of them, so we'd like to thank them for their service. The Michigan City Fire Department would also like to welcome Andy Sperling to the commission. We look forward to working with you. I would like to acknowledge and congratulate Brad Craigbaum for being promoted to lieutenant and Eugene Hannes for being promoted to driver operator. That was done back in the December, I believe. Issue, Mr. Reynolds? You sure? Okay. Anniversaries. There was no official meeting in January, so I need to mention Christopher Gaines was January, he had 1 year. February anniversaries, Randy Dibble with 35 years, David Nespo with 33 years, Alan Craigbaum with 31 years, Christopher Kozakowski with 30 years, Brandon White 12 years, Eugene Hannes 5 years, David Riccinio 4 years, Jacob Irving 4 years, Chris Zabutis 4 years, Chris Mazark 4 years, Kyle Gish with 4 years, Logan Kalita with 2 years. I received 2 letters of accommodations. I sized them down as much as I could. The first one is from Captain Rob Steinborn and Captain Andrew Naus. On Friday, December 10th, Engine 1 was dispatched for a 1050 car on fire with people trapped inside. Upon arrival, 1 vehicle was badly damaged with heavy fire showing from the engine compartment and passenger compartment. 1 person was seen laying on the ground about 30 feet from the burning car who appeared to be injured. Police on scene stated that there were still people inside of the burning car. Firefighters Zabutis and Dobrowski were dispatched, were directed to put out the fire. Engine 1 captain went to the passenger side of the vehicle to try and gain entry. Firefighters Zabutis soon found Engine 1 captain while Dobrowski continued to fight the fire. Engine 1 captain and firefighters Zabutis made entry into the burning car through the front passenger door, then through the rear passenger window after breaking it out. There was nobody in the car. Engine 1 crew were then directed by police to a second car involved in the crash that had 2 female subjects inside. The car had sustained heavy driver's side damage. The driver of the car was unconscious but breathing. The passenger was conscious and alert with severe facial trauma. The passenger was able to get out of the car with assistance. The driver needed extrication removed from the car. Operator Miller, Operator Kelly, and firefighter Joey Palmer performed the extrication. Firefighters were able to get the driver free from the car and into the hands of EMS in less than 10 minutes. While various members of Michigan City Fire Department on scene dealt with the second vehicle involved, the driver of the first car also needed care. He had severe facial trauma as well as an obvious femur fracture. Firefighters Zabutis and Engine 4 captain were attending to him. 3 EMS units were needed on this call. EMS and Michigan City Fire Department personnel worked very well together in a very stressful environment. Communicating with patient had priority and where the various rigs were located. Part of Tower 1 crew, Lieutenant Rose and Lieutenant Taylor made forcible entry into the house that was involved in the crash/fire to check the fire extension and any structural issues. At the conclusion of this incident, it was determined that 4 vehicles were damaged in the crash, as well as the house that was impacted by the car. The house sustained a large hole in the wall as well as fire damage. We are requesting that these individuals that were involved in this incident receive recognition for showing their professionalism and their dedication to the citizens of Michigan City. The members of the Michigan City Fire Department on this call were as follows: Car 10, Chief Warzak; Engine 1, Captain Steinborn; Operator Borders; Firefighters Zabutis; Firefighter Dabrowski; Engine 4, Captain Naus; Operator Kelly; Firefighter Joy Palmer; Tower 1, Lieutenant Rose; Lieutenant Taylor; and Operator Miller. Respectfully, Captain Rob Steinborn and Captain Andrew Naus. So I just want to acknowledge that we're going to give all of them unit citation, all of those.
Good.
My second one is on, I have to keep a lot of this information out, keep it private, but like I said, I'm going to keep it down to a minimum. On January 29th, Michigan City Fire received a dispatch for a patient unconscious and CPR in progress. Firefighters Rossino and Hallett entered and found a female patient on the floor with the occupants doing CPR. Hallett assessed the patient and found her to have a pulse. I have to skip some of this. They set up the BBM and Hallett administered Narcan. While this was going on, Kozakowski saw a person sitting on a chair on the porch who also appeared to be unconscious and looked pale. At that point, a second ambulance was requested. Rossino brought out a dose of Narcan and administered it to the male on the porch as the first EMS rig arrived. Driver operator Lee assisted with getting the ambulance around to the back of the home. At this point, another dose of Narcan was administered by EMS and Engine 2 to both patients, with rescue breathing continued. The second ambulance arrived and driver operator Lee, as he did with the first rig, directed them to the back of the house and assisted them with equipment. At approximate, hold on. So that call ended at approximately 20:15 hours. A call came in, possible OD at the same address. Inside on the couch was a patient who was lethargic. After several minutes of the patient being uncooperative, Hallett attached the pulse ox and got vitals. Hallett administered Narcan to the patient as Kozakowski, Rossino, and Lee questioned more occupants as to their use of drugs in question. 5 others were experiencing some mild symptoms. Rossino administered doses to 2 separate people. Rossino and Hallett assisted in the ambulance and route to Franciscan as 2 patients were transported in the rig. Other residents of the home were transported by an individual who claimed not to have taken any drugs. I feel special recognition should be given to driver operator Lee, firefighter Rossino, firefighter Hallett for their handling of a very challenging pair of incidences. To treat the patients with Narcan and properly care for them after the administration of the doses, and to calmly reason with the patients who were close to becoming unconscious, which allowed them to be treated with the patients who were not in their proper mental state. These 3 firefighters represented the Michigan City Fire Department in a very positive and professional way, and certainly saved at least 3 individuals from a tragic fate. Captain Chris Kozakowski. So we're also going to be awarding actually all 4 of them, including the captain, unit citation awards for that call.
Could I ask just one question on that? And I agree with the awards you're awarding the firefighters. What is under HIPAA? What are your requirements to notify the Michigan City Police Department?
They were there.
They were there? Okay.
Yep, I skipped a lot of it.
All right.
A lot of it out of it. Actually, that call, Long Beach Police, I think, ended up responding, Michigan City Police and State Police. So, yeah, it's all. I believe any drug-related call, they automatically get dispatched, Michigan City PD.
Good.
So, we usually seldom do we have to call for them, because they're either already there or on the way.
Yeah, good. Obviously, one of my concerns is that you're going to find it might be firearms present at that type of a situation also, and so, yeah.
January 1st, 2022, I was given the okay to add a deputy chief to the administration. I would like to welcome and congratulate Mike Jasneski to the new position of deputy chief of operations. I look forward to working with him. I believe he will be a great asset to the department in the new position. Mike Jasneski has a merit rank of a captain. The Merit Commission has ruled that any position open for more than 90 days other than the chief has to be filled. I ask that you make a motion to promote the next captain, lieutenant, driver, operator, captain, lieutenant, and driver operator from the promotion list. So I don't know if you want to take care of that now, or if you want to wait.
Well, might as well. Can I have a motion?
I'm going to make a motion that you fill the opening in the captain's rank for driver operator, or I'm sorry,
Captain, lieutenant, and driver operator.
captain, lieutenant, and driver operator.
Second.
I vote aye also. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
On January 11th, 2022, Christopher Gaines has completed all requirements to be promoted to firefighter. I would also like to congratulate Gaines on being the valedictorian of his career academy class. I believe there was, don't hold me to it, but around 15 people in that class. It was a pretty large class. So, yeah, it was a great ceremony. He got recognized as being the #1 spot. So I ask that you make a motion to take Christopher Gaines off of probation and promote him to rank of firefighter as of January 11, 2022.
I make a motion to promote firefighter Gaines from probationary firefighter to first class firefighter.
It's non-rank of firefighter.
We can firefighter.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we promote firefighter Gaines. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. What time have you got? Because the city council rep just came in. Go ahead. Oh, I was just checking the time because I think our city council rep came. Are you going to be our city council rep, Paul?
Well, he's not,
No.
that's not Sean Fitzpatrick.
Oh, okay.
He's not our appointed city.
Okay.
So,
Because we haven't had a lot of city council reps, so.
so I do have down here merit order changes. I'm going to briefly speak on what Union President Barrett Taylor mentioned. I did speak with him. He did talk to me about a committee that was formed. I think that's a great idea. I'd love to see that. I think that the chief's office, the union, and the merit commission need to get together, need to figure out these solutions and get this taken care of. It's been way too many years that we've been talking about it. So I completely agree with President Barrett Taylor on getting this committee reformed, whatever you want to call it. And then along with the promotional testing that he spoke of, on our labor relations meetings, that's been written down. Several people want to know what to study. They want to get the study material. So we need to figure that out. You guys need to figure that out. And then there was other issues, evaluation calculations, that all can be ironed out when we dive into the merit ordinance. New hire testing. We need to continue on and make sure you guys discuss the new hire test coming up. I'm sure it's probably on your
I was going to bring that up under new business, but
Okay.
that's fine.
And then one other thing I'd like to talk about is the drug policy. I asked the commission to consider adopting the city drug policy, and the commission stated they wanted to review the policy. I would just like to know where we're at with that.
Me personally, I'm in favor of it. I think we need to do that, but I don't know where everybody else is on this.
I mean, personally, I don't think we should be adopting anything until we get our merit ordinance in order.
It was stated that you guys wanted to review the policy. So my question is, where are we at with the review of the policy?
I don't think we should adopt it. I think the city should be taking care of that like they've done for the last 15 years. Why all of a sudden they dump it on the merit commission for us to do? I just don't understand it. Nobody wants to give me an explanation except there's one little paragraph in there that states it's got to be done this way. But what happened to the last 15 years that they've been doing it a different way?
I believe I mentioned to you, the only information I got was the change of personnel directors handled it differently. I believe is how I stated that.
That's what happened. She, the new one doesn't want to do it, the old one did want to do it. But they're saying she don't want to do it because it states she don't have to do it.
It basically does though. So what I was told is that if you guys adopt it, then they will be able to handle it, from what I understand it. They will be able to give the 30 days. Now, don't tell me if I'm wrong, that's kind of how I interpret it. Unless you...
So if we adopt, you're telling us that if we adopt it, then they're going to take care of it. So why do we have to adopt it? It's a city policy, citywide.
Because of that paragraph that states,
Well, then take that paragraph out instead of dumping it on us.
We can't do that until there's a change of the,
if you have any information...
no, I think that you're correct because of that the
Paragraph.
one paragraph in there that, yeah, so, and that can't be taken out until it's changed and goes through the correct process.
Right,
So-
understand, so
yeah.
they
So as I understand it, then we have to go through an ordinance change in order to get that taken out?
Correct.
Okay. Well, that definitely should be put on
Maybe
the...
I'm slightly confused. Because isn't there a sentence in the contract that says we will follow the city?
There is that.
Right,
yeah.
I brought that up.
I'm saying,
The contract and the merit ordinance are conflicting each other. That's what the issue
How are they, there's nothing in our merit ordinance about drug testing, correct?
I think it's just alcohol, yeah. I believe it's just alcohol.
Things that you can be suspended for. But there's not a drug test on here, what they follow, what percentages and what they're testing for. We don't have that. They want us to adopt the city one. What is wrong with the city doing what they've been doing for the last 15 years? I don't understand why all of a sudden we're going to change this. Why throw it in our laps? You know? If somebody comes up negative, I have a drug test, why don't you do like we just did? You suspend 5, it comes in front of the merit ordinance, or merit commissioners, and we decide if we give them anything else or not. Case by case. If that would be, if that's the way I would do it, if we adopt any kind of drug policy. Just a case by case. If not, the city should be handled like they have been handling for the last 15 years. They already said how to do it.
Well, I would volunteer this. If, Corey, if you could draw up something for an ordinance change, I would take it to the city council and see if we could get that adopted by the city council. I would also take it to the mayor, let the mayor see it, because he's going to have to sign it. So whatever it takes to get this in accordance with the city policy, because I think we have to go by the city policy. If we had one situation for the fire department, another one for the police department, and another one for the city employees, well, you can correct me, but I think we're going to play, and I'll say it, hell in court if we've got something like that. So this has got to make sure that we're in accordance with everyone.
Well, and that's the issue that you ran into in the last case that we had. Because, just because it's been handled that way for the last 15 years doesn't mean that was the correct way to handle it. So we have to make sure that we're following what the policy is. So if that means we have to amend that portion and take that paragraph out, or if it means that we have to, or when I say we, you guys, adopt the city policy so that everyone's on the same page. So it's either going to be one or two of those things.
When you look at that, I don't have a law degree. If I did, I wouldn't be here. But when you look at the state policy, this whole damn thing is like a dog chasing its tail. Because it says you will follow, whatever policies and regulations you have. Well, our policy and our contract says we'll follow the city's policy. But then when you get back to the ordinance, it says you'll follow the, so it's like this damn thing that does that. So we need something.
Right.
Now, whether we do it like Mike Nyla says, I don't have a problem with what we've been doing. That's where this was a whole new thing to me. It always got handled the same way. This happens, this is what happens. You fail, you walk out, it's considered failure, whatever. Everybody was treated the same, period. That's it. And now this last incident, it seems to have just
But see, when you start,
just spiraled out.
when you have different eyes looking at it, you interpret it differently. So we have to fix that, so there's no two different ways to interpret it. We have to, sum it up and get it, so that
I understand that.
everyone knows what the rules are, I guess, and everyone's playing by those same rules.
But see, that's where I'm banging my head against the wall, because our contract says we're going to follow the city policy, then what does the city policy say? Because I actually got a question from Andrea, and there was nothing wrong, but she had asked me a simple question, and I think she was trying to see what the union's take would be on it, and I said, whatever you make the secretary down the hall do, or the garbage man do, that's what you make him do. But if you let him do anything else, if you let anybody else, like you've got a fireman, you make him do whatever it is you make anybody else in the city do. Because the commission said he will follow the city's policy, period. Whatever your policy says is what he needs to follow. I say, now if you go off and let him do something on his own, that's your business. But you're not going to get any pushback if you make him do exactly what you make anybody else in the city do, because it says you will do what the city does, you know.
Right. Unfortunately, any ambiguity in the law, if it goes to court, is held against the drafter. So when you have different things saying different things, different, do it this way, no, do it this way, no, do it this way. So are you going to take that chance in court? And that's the problem. We all have to be playing by the same rules. And so, and I understand that you want to piecemeal it, but do you want to piecemeal it? Do you want to do just the drug policy and then go back? Because I'm with you. That ordinance, it's a nightmare. This, like you said, this section says this thing, and then you go, oh no, now read this section. Well, this section says the opposite. So what do we follow? And then the state one says completely different. So
I've gotten with so many guys that want to talk and talk and talk, and so you explain some things, then they get all wide-eyed because it's like, the city says one thing, the state says another. Be careful what you wish for.
Right.
Because it may not all work out in your favor.
Well, I'll throw it out.
We need to.
Well, I'll throw it out there from my point of view, and you guys can tell me why I'm wrong about this. But I want to make sure that it's lined up so that we've got the fire department, the police department, and the city of Michigan City all on the same situation.
well, I don't think you have any control over the police department. I think
Well,
you're just you're
but I
just the
assume they're
fire.
going to be basically the same as we are.
Well,
They actually are, it says public safety officer.
Public safety officers. I think that's what that paragraph says.
Police and fire.
Right.
we all fall under the same merit ordinance, right, for the state, right? But they may, for the city, they may have their own separate thing, the city part. But when it comes down to the state, from what I've seen of it, the police and fire fall, it's together.
Well, all I'm saying is I would be willing, in this case, I'd like to see a massive overall change in the ordinance, in the fire merit ordinance. But just to get this in line, I'd be willing to go along with piecemealing it, as long as we can agree that this is going to put it in line.
Like I said, for me anyway, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, we've done the same. I've been on over 18 and a half years now, and it's always been the same as far as the drug policy, so to speak. You go in, you do your thing. If you fail, then you got your 30 days off.
That's what I
and you
thought,
do
too.
whatever else the city asks you to do.
Well, that's what I thought too.
So for me, it's cut and dry. So however you gotta, if that's what we're gonna go with, which is what we've been going with, which to me is fair, because the guy 10 years ago, the guy 5 years ago, or the guy 15 years ago, the guy 6 weeks ago, whatever, they should all, it's the same thing. So if there's gotta be a wording change or something drawn up to say this is exactly what we're gonna do, then I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I am
Because
too.
this has turned into absolutely the biggest headache, because what's happened, you got terribly close, terribly close to a bunch of grievances getting filed from previous individuals that were going to be grieved if this guy got treated differently, which was real close to happening. And we need to, however we need to do that, we need to fix that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't
I
happen
agree.
again.
Everyone needs to be treated the same.
Now, this is the one
Can you
part
talk
that
to
you
the
guys
city
want to
attorney?
push
Absolutely.
through. If you say piecemeal it, you want to push this one part through, that's on you guys. And then we can work on the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I think this particular problem's got to be solved, and I think Corey's going to talk to the city attorney and make sure we get this in line, so.
That's basically why I bring it up. I want to see it finished, taken care of. I'll bring it up every month until we get something done. I don't want to see it dropped. I think we need to act on it,
I agree,
and we need to figure it out, and
yeah.
I'll be bringing it up every month.
Let's
It
see,
won't take long.
I've got us down to old business.
Yeah, I'm done.
And under new business, I've got a couple of comments. For some time now, we've had a problem, in my estimation, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, with the number of applications we are receiving for new firefighters. The last time we did the academic and physical agility testing, we went in with 39. By the time we got through with the academic testing, the physical agility testing, the ladder climb, we came out with 9 people that could qualify under all of that. Now, 3 of them decided that they didn't want to be on the fire department for whatever reason. One, I think, went to the military, another one went to the mills. So we wound up with 6, which was exactly what we needed to fulfill all the requirements. We are required to have 3 individual names on our listing. Right now, it's my understanding that we have 0. So if the chief had to fill a position on the fire department, we have no name to give him in terms of our recommendation because we don't have anyone there. So we are going to have to do, again, academic testing and physical agility testing. Right now, we have 11 applications. If you go by the general statistics that have occurred over the last several years, you're going to get about 25% of the people on that list through, which means if you round up, we're going to get 3. If we use anybody off that list, we still won't meet the ordinance. A couple of proposals, and I think, the chief's got to talk about this with some department heads. Maybe we also have to talk about it, but I'd like to bring up 2 proposals and see what the general thinking is, and I'd like to hear from the union on this also. I want to see us, number 1, start to go to job fairs. And I think there's going to be a significant number of job fairs that are going to come up from the various Ivy Techs that have fire science classes around this area. And I'm thinking specifically of Valpo. They have an Ivy Tech. South Bend has an Ivy Tech. We have an Ivy Tech. And I'd like to see us send individuals, I guess I could say the PIO officer, but that might not be who the chief wants to send. But normally in the military, for these kinds of things, you send a PIO officer. And see if we could start to get applications out of these graduates coming out of the fire science classes at Ivy Tech. Now, most of those individuals will probably be in the age group of 20 or 21. The other place I'd like to see us go now, and this is going to be the bigger discussion, I think, is both South Bend and Valparaiso are allowing 18-year-olds to come onto the fire department. Now, they have a different way that they handle it, and this is different. But I'd also like to see the chief enter into some discussions with our department heads, specifically what I would call HR, human resources, in the accounting department, because there are payroll differences also, about should we use 18-year-olds. Now, the other thing, if we can get 18-year-olds in there, obviously that's going to require an ordinance change. With 20-year-olds, I'm not sure, we'd have to find this out, if that would require an ordinance change. The way we would do it would be we would advertise, instead of sending out for applications individuals who are 21 years of age, we could ask for applications from those who are 20 years of age, up to, I think it's 35. Then, by the time they got through all of the academic testing, the physical agility testing, and then they have to go through PERF, they might be 21, which would meet the 21 requirement. Or if they weren't 21, they'd be very close to it. So we could have them on the list, and as soon as they turn 21, we could use them. That's a couple of suggestions. Chief, if you can figure out a way to get together with what I call HR, human resources, and if the union wants to discuss it, I'd love to hear from them also. Because there's obviously some situations that can be difficult, as I can tell you from the shore patrol situations in the military, with individuals who are 18, 19 years old. But we're going to have to do something that we can get more applications. When I came on, believe it or not, 10 years ago, we had to rent the basement of the A.K. Smith Center to hold the academic testing. We had over 200 applications for that. This last go-around, we got 11. We're also going to have to look at, I think, some advertising as to how we go about doing this. Now, the police department was using banner down at Washington Park, which I thought was a neat idea. And I used to work for a boss who said, let's don't reinvent the wheel. And I wouldn't mind copying their idea if we could. But we're going to have to look at how we get this out there. I wanted to bring that up under new business, and if people have some thoughts or comments, I'd be glad to hear from you, especially from some of the guys that are relatively new before. And I also have to tell you that in the past, one of the great areas that we got applications from was from friends of people that were on the fire department. So if you've got friends in your age group that you think might like to be on the fire department and would make good firefighters, please talk to them about submitting an application. That's my comments. Any thoughts if anybody wants to bring them up?
I just have a couple of questions on President Taylor.
I'm sorry, Mike, I'm having a...
What's the starting pay right now for firefighting?
With the new contract,
Yeah.
I don't have it with me. I actually got it on the phone,
And then after probation, what's the base pay?
unless he's got it
I got it there.
right there. I didn't bring my contract.
Hold on a second.
You got cheap.
How much?
Probation firefighter, 46,000.
46,000 for probationary?
Yes,
And how about first class firefighter?
52,000.
52.
First class, you gotta be careful with that terminology. First class
Firefighter.
firefighter is a guy with 8 years.
Okay,
So
so
just getting out of
Get off
probation.
probation.
Coming off probation is 52,000.
50,000. And compared to what it was prior to this kind of new contract?
I don't have it.
I don't have that.
No idea
got it in my car.
how much it's went up? It's a rough estimate.
44 probably.
About $6,000.
Yeah,
What about 6 grand?
that's what I was thinking.
You know,
About 6.
moving up to 46,000 to start as a firefighter is pretty good money, I think. We need to put that out when we do our applications.
Yes.
This is what you're gonna be.
Yes.
And with this being said, I'd like to, since we do only have 11 people on the,
That have submitted applications.
I would like to make a motion that we reopen up the application for hire until April 15th to see if we can get some more. And then having the test done in late May or early June. And get it going, because we have to get that going, and we do have to get the promotional stuff done. There's two big things that have to be done.
Right, I agree. I would go along with that. Can I get a second for that?
A second.
In terms of the minutes, one more time, just so that it's...
To reopen the application for hire process until April 15th.
Okay?
I'll second that.
And that should give us some time to maybe go to job fairs.
Word out, hopefully. Yeah, we'll do as
How
much
much
as we
more,
can.
how much more the...
Well, that's definitely gonna be a great asset. You know, the council stepped up and gave those guys a great 3-year contract, so we do appreciate that. I think that's gonna help tremendously.
Well, if we can get that out and go to some job fairs, that's gotta help, because if we run through this applications process, we're gonna spend some money, and then if we only come out with 3 or 4 people, that's not near enough, and actually, this has not happened in several years, this is supposed to be a listing that lasts for 2 years. It hasn't lasted for 2 years, I'm gonna tell you, in at least 5 years. Go ahead.
Now, Commissioner Nyla, you stated, you made a motion for the April 15th, correct?
To reopen the application process until April 15th.
You mentioned a date of testing. Did you want to follow through with that and set that right now or not?
We can wait on that because we'll see. That's not gonna be late to late May or early.
You mentioned it earlier, I didn't know if you wanted to include
No,
that in your motion, maybe set
just reopen the application for hire process until April
the date will be
15th.
set later for the test.
And we should wait to set that date, because we're gonna have, we should have at least 3 members of the Merit Commission there present, because we need a quorum to be there, so, yeah, so we need to find out when the other 2
You're looking at
would be
May, June,
available.
and-
Plus, we have to send out within, what, is it 7 days? You have to send them a certified letter stating and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
but you're looking at late May, early June then for testing, just so.
Yeah.
One thing that you can think about too, I don't know exactly how it works, is lateral transfer. You get guys coming from other departments. Let's say just for the sake of argument, somebody left here and decided they wanted to come back.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
But, I mean, the whole, are you gonna make them go back through the academy, something like that?
Absolutely.
Let's say you get a guy comes from another department, decides he wants to come here, it's like essentially lateral transfer, or he just applies, since we don't have lateral transfer, and he's already been there like 10, 12 years, is he gonna have to go back to the academy? Because that's a big killer for some of these guys.
I spent about 50 years in accounting in one way or another. Believe me, that's a big cost savings to start with, because, but one thing they would have to have would be their licenses as EMTs.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, let's say they got all the shit that we all need.
No, and by the way, we have had transfers in the 10 years that I've been on, and they did not have to go back through the academy, as long as they had their licenses.
That may work too.
We have certified, they're been certified through the certified academy, I think they're good.
Okay, that's all I'm saying, like, that may be a turn off to some people, they think they may have to go back to the academy or whatever.
But I think, if I recall correctly, that does have to go through PERF. That's not us. I think PERF has to make that decision.
Well, they'll still be, they'll still have all this.
PERF is so separate, they'll automatically get PERF, wherever they go, they'll get their PERF.
Okay, so that was automatic with PERF?
Yeah, it's automatic transfer.
Yeah,
They stay
okay.
PERF no matter where they go.
So in the state, as long as they're within the state, in another department.
Okay.
As long as, because there's still some departments that aren't in PERF. But as long as they come from a department with PERF, let's say a guy comes from Indianapolis.
Well, that must be what PERF checked,
He's
because I
got
think
12
they
years,
checked
let's say he's got 12 years in Indianapolis, and he comes here, he's still got that 12 years as far as PERF
Right.
goes. He'll just start over here.
Yeah.
The only thing that has to happen is,
Mission 3 Fire, January 714 Planet, 714 Army Corps of Industry.
what happens is that department has to release him out of PERF, and then PERF can put them into our department.
If I recall correctly, that's basically what they checked with PERF, as long as it was okay with
That
them.
department has to make a phone call down there and release him, or with a release date, and then we put him on our
Do you think you'd have a chance, say, to get together with maybe a couple of these department heads, well, in the next month, and see what their thoughts, and if they want to go along with this, or if we're going to have some problems with it?
as far as,
18-year-olds and 20-year-olds.
yes, I'll check on that, and then back to what Mr. Taylor was talking about. If you guys could look at doing some type, when you do your merit order changes, if you want to put in there something about incentives for lateral transfers. You know, you can give them incentives to come here from another department.
Well, the other
We
thing,
lose people to departments quite often lately. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if they
What
have
kind of
incentives.
incentive can we give them?
Like you stated, no academy, which is kind of in there already. It's up to, I can recommend that you don't send them. As long as it's, like you said, a certified, it's a certified academy.
And I don't know if
We
there's,
don't know what that means, so.
you may not give the guy seniority or rank rating, like maybe a pay incentive somehow. I don't know. There's
That's, we
Some-
can
I'm just
say
saying,
that.
I'm just saying, you can look at a lot of shit and a lot of different things to try to entice somebody to come in. Talk to other people, talk to
well,
other departments.
the other thing
You can
is,
talk to other departments, you guys can talk to other departments, see what they do.
yeah,
What
the
you
other,
guys do to lure people in.
the other thing I was going to bring up is, we ought to look at having people who go through the academy and we pay for it. And there you'd have to check with the legal department, but the possibility of them signing a 3-year contract, because we have had at least 2 that I can think of over the course of my 10 years. They got through the academy, and one got hired by another fire department, I think, and one got hired by the steel mills. As soon as they got through the academy, we never, once that was over, they were gone. And we could, and maybe could ask the legal department about the possibility of having them sign a 3-year contract, or a contract that if they left, they'd reimburse us 1 year, they'd give us 2 years back, up to 3 years.
I know we're losing firefighters to other departments, and it was mostly salary. So with this new contract, that should help us out there, I believe, considerably. Stepping up the game.
Just a small note on your age thing with the 20-year-old. At the time of that, the ordinance actually states 21 years old at time of application.
Well, yeah,
So
and I want to see,
would have to be-
one of the change would have to be that it would be 21 years old at time of hiring.
Right.
Well, then we could take applications from
It's still an
20-year-olds.
ordinance change, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But if you do the 21 years at higher, you don't know when that person's gonna get called. I could have a guy retire tomorrow, and then bam, I gotta call that next guy on the list, and he might not be 21.
No. What we do is we would have have it specified that they would have to be 21 at time of hire. So they would just drop down and you take the next person on the list until they turn 21. because we've got to figure out ways to get more applications in here. When you start with 11, we're going to be lucky to wind up with 3.
Just to let you know, it's everywhere. Though. It's not just
It's everywhere.
It's
Oh, I know.
It's other departments. So
I'm walking into places, believe it or not, where there's 2 people trying to do a 5-person job. At that point, it's where I say, thank you for working, and they look at me. But, yeah, no, it's all over. Okay, any other commission comments?
Say something about the promotional test date. I believe it's the 3rd Saturday, September 17th. So that is always, that's in stone, so it's the 3rd Saturday of September.
17th, yep. That's fine.
We're working on, like you said, we're working on getting the syllabus out, the study materials and all that.
Yeah.
Ordered.
Yeah. Well, I have to find out, well, whoever's president's going to have to find out, well, where they stand in terms of the materials from URI. Any other comments? Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Did you ask for public comments?
Public comment? I missed public comment. Public comment, anyone? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering about how the chief plans on filling jobs that were a position that was created through the budgetary process and putting the lifeguards into the fire department as civilian employees. How that the rink is going to be filled, because this is all an experiment. It's not etched in stone of being permanent. Because that's the way this whole thing came about, that they were going to try it to see how it works. Now I see things in motion that are end up going to be impermanent, and I think we should slow down a little bit, because it's going to cost money. And it could cost permanent money and it'd give people rank, and then they're bumped out of that position. If somebody gets a whim to change the whole sequence of events that was created in the budget process. So, then I'm going to ask everybody here tonight if they got a problem with going with a 0 tolerance on their drug policy. 0 when you report, 0 when you're at work. Because I know that's what we have where I'm at, in that a lot of people I mean, if you get tested while you're on the job, if you don't take a drug test, that's automatic discharge. So it all depends what you guys, how you want to approach it. And I'm saying that, we're supposed to, everybody's supposed to be in a drug-free environment. And I know several years ago that a police officer was in an accident and they let him drive the car to the station, and under state law, they could not give him charge him with anything because he drove that car back to the station. So I think when you're talking about a drug program, we got to find out what the state law, because there's always, what I've seen, special legislation dealing with police and fire. So,
Councilman Zawinski, this is a drug policy written by the council. This is the council's thing, so if you want to change it through the council, you can go to it and do that. We don't have a drug policy.
I know what you're saying.
So that needs to be changed by the council, not by us.
I'd like to see, a consensus. Is that what we want to do here? And so there's no ambiguity in that if you don't take the test, you're automatically discharged. If you refuse a test, you're automatically discharged. I understand the council has to come up. I understand what you guys are kind of talking about, and so it's like, you learn from your the things that happen, so I don't have a problem. It's what we want to project out to the community. So whatever, if the union wants to have a motion at one of their meetings, you know, and then we'll go from there.
What does the union have to do with it?
That's right.
What does the union got to do with
Right, it does nothing.
I just sit here and argue that we handle it with the way the city's got it going.
Okay.
It's in our contract that we do what the city says we do.
I didn't come here for it.
I'm not, but you're sitting there talking about the union and talking about, if you read our contract, it says we're supposed to follow the city's policy, and then that just got derailed by the city.
Saying was a consent.
That got derailed by the city.
Thanks.
So, well, if I can answer your first question, this is the first time that I've ever heard of this being a trial thing with the lifeguards. So if you can prove me wrong, that's fine. I've never heard that term being brought out until now, so it was permanent as far as in my eyes, a permanent move. So that's going to answer that question. And the promotions were made tonight. I think you missed that part. Maybe you didn't, but, yeah, that's the first
Yeah,
I've
the
ever heard.
door was locked, I was trying to get in.
Should be.
The left one was
On
unlocked.
the left side, both sides unlocked early. But anyways, to answer your first question, is that's the first I've ever heard of a trial run, so, we went through appropriate steps and we made those promotions tonight, so. And your second question was regarding the drug policy. As Union President Barrett Taylor said, we have it in our contract. Every time that contract is passed, it says, the last sentence in it, I can show it to you, we abide by the city policy. We have an acknowledgement form that we sign when the drug policy went into effect, and any new hiree signed that form the first day that they accept the drug policy, the city drug policy. So what we're saying is, we want to follow it, we just need some clarification and some direction from the city, and probably it's going to entail the council. So we do want to get this figured out, and so it's on the books correctly. That's the right term. And as far as zero tolerance, if you want to do a poll, I mean, that's something that you can, conduct. But
No, I'm not gonna do that, I'm just asking,
you just asked, you stated you were going to ask us all here tonight.
Well, that was a consensus, so I guess we'll do what we gotta do.
So, I mean, we're here trying to figure this out and get it taken care of.
Well, just so we come out with it legally too, that's the other aspect.
We're not saying we want to be different from anybody. That's kind of what you guys were saying. We need to be treated just like anybody else.
So that was my question. So are you suggesting or a zero tolerance just for the firefighters, or would that be the city policy?
That would be the policy for the civil city.
Okay.
Zero tolerance. But, like I stated, there might be special legislation that we don't know about that has to be researched on specifically how to enact it.
Well, obviously, when we get this drug policy straightened out, that's got to be part of the discussion, but I think we've got some pretty good people on it, and I think we can get this thing straightened out. I certainly hope so. Any more public comment? Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
The next meeting is March 7th.
The next meeting is March the 7th in this facility at 5 p.m.